Good evening and welcome. I'm Roy Blitzer, and our show is Ask Dr. Business. The purpose of our time together is to provide information and insight that you will benefit from on the job. The desired outcome is you'll take this advice and counsel and become happy, more satisfied, and more productive as an employee. This evening, we are continuing our series on first and new jobs and closing it down as well. This is the last show on this topic. And we're very fortunate to have as our guest Alex Thornton. And not only are we fortunate, but I'm fortunate because Alex is what we would call a replacement last-minute savior. This morning I got a phone call that my other guest was unfortunately called away on a family emergency. And when I spoke to Alex this morning, he was most gracious about coming and help. Thank you. I want to remind you that you can call in for any questions about first and new jobs for Alex. The phone number is 650-856-1491. Now tell us about your new job, which, by the way, is starting on Sunday. Begin, please.
So I recently was hired at Arriaga Recreation Center, about 0.8 miles from my campus. So it's very convenient for me. I'm able to get there on time, and I'm able to carry out the tasks that I need to. Some responsibilities that I'm going to have on the job are creating events, setting up events for people to correspond with what they need to get done, opening and closing, aiding people in getting into the rooms they need to get into, opening and closing the doors, and really taking phone calls and maximizing customer satisfaction.
Now tell me, what are they calling you? What is the title of your new position?
So I'm officially a facility attendant / recreation leader.
Wonderful. Now tell our readers and our listeners and our viewers a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where did you go to high school? What were you interested in? How did this job appeal to you?
So I'm from Spokane, Washington. Very small city, but yet big in certain ways. I got first started into retail with Zoomies, and from there...
You may want to explain what Zoomies is to us Californians.
So Zoomies was started in Seattle. It is a retail company that does teen skate apparel.
Skateboarding.
Skateboarding, snow.
Not ice skating.
Right. Though they do offer snowboarding and other things like that. From there, I got into lead sales, and then from there, I really dived into marketing, and I thought marketing was interesting. So I branched out, and I found some possible marketing jobs in Menlo Park, seeing as I was going to be living here. And from there, I found Arriaga, which
on the internet? Did you find it there? Or?
Yeah, through CalOps. I actually
CalOps, good.
Created a
good
profile.
Recommendation.
Created a profile for myself, and basically received emails from positions every day. And then I created a general account resume, and I submitted it to the website. And from there, I was able to find the job.
Wonderful. Now, I'm going to solicit some questions for you. The phone number here is 650-856-1491. We're here with Alex Thornton, who's starting his new job, his first new job here in California at Arriaga Recreational Center. Please come forward with some questions for him. Tell me a little bit about the appeal for this job and what it was like for you to get it. How did you prepare?
So in preparation, I just did a bunch of research around the area and specifically dived into some niche markets and looked at what was going on in Menlo. Like, I was really interested in what Menlo is about. And so through there, I found a recreation job would be fitting for a starting job in the area. Able to connect with people, really, is what the incentive is.
And you had sales experience from
right.
retailing.
And So by doing these events, by hosting events for businesses and individuals, I'll probably be able to connect with some companies and further branch my marketing.
Tell me a little bit about the process. You called them, did you send an electronic resume? What can our people hear about getting a job from doing your kind of research?
So I would recommend to anyone looking for a job to write some copy about yourself. And basically what this is write out a resume about yourself and have
Like a
it
biography.
right. Have it pre-written and have it ready to go as a general resume for yourself. Now, what you can also do, and what I did personally, was I wrote a copy email. So basically, essentially what a copy is it's a pre-written text that you write with certain blank areas in it that you can substitute for specific businesses and whatnot. So through this, I wrote the general copy, and then I went and I submitted it to several businesses by filling in their specific information, and I tailored it to each business, and it made it a lot simpler.
And the Arriaga people called you back? How did the process go?
Yeah, so they emailed me back about a few days later, and then a week later I called Jasmine.
But you knew nobody there, no networking, you didn't?
I knew nobody in the area. From Spokane.
You're breaking all the records, you know, because typically that's very difficult to just cold call and send something in.
Yeah, I started my job search 2 weeks prior to even coming to Menlo, so I was ahead.
And your future boss called you, then what happened?
Then we set up an appointment for an interview. It was the day before, actually, my orientation started at Menlo. So it was convenient. I was able to come in a day early. Was taken to the building. From there, I met with 2 people, one of which was Jasmine, my manager, and the other was an assistant. And they basically bounced questions off of me. And
So it was a group interview.
it was a group interview.
Now, how did you prepare for the interview? Did you create questions for yourself? Did you look at the job qualities and qualifications and see where you fit? How did that happen?
So in preparation for interviews, what I usually do is I'll research behind what the business stands for. I'll look for some qualities of the business. I'll look for the background of the business. I'll look dates, any information that I can spring up upon them to make myself sound like I know what's going on with the business. That always looks good in the interviewer's eyes. And on top of that, I polished my resume. I had it reviewed by a few mentors and peers. And other than that, I just went for it.
Now tell me, since you had already had another job at Zoomies, how did the process differ? Did they do the same kind of interviewing when you went for this retail job?
So it's funny because at Zoomies, they have...
I just love saying the name, Alex. That's why I'm asking.
At Zoomies, they had they do interesting interviews. So they have like 8 people line up, and then they have the manager just bounce questions off each of them. And it's sort of to weed out the weak and keep the true salesman there. They would ask you questions like, if you were invisible for a day, what would you do? Things like that to get people thinking about interesting things.
Now, do you have to wear a uniform at this Arriaga job?
Actually, that is not required.
But I bet at Zoomies you had to wear some of the Zoomies clothing, don't you?
You
Or
had
didn't
to. You had to. There wasn't a requirement,
Really?
but I was.
By the way, at the Gap there is, you know. You need to wear only clothing from the Gap if you work there.
Interesting. We were just required to
Look
dress.
sharp.
Yeah, just look fit for the job.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about expectations. You're starting the job on Sunday.
Yes.
What are you going to do to make that first day for you, which we all know is a little bit strange, the most successful that you can?
I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna show up early. I'm going to have conviction with everything.
Can
I
you bike
do.
there, or can you walk there? How do you?
Fortunately, I can walk there if I really want to.
Good.
I'll probably walk.
It
or
rains
get a
here a
ride.
lot, as you know. In the winter, you may need to have your umbrella handy.
Right. Basically, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to polish up some more research, make sure I really seem like I fit in, kind of create a mindset of that I've already been there, and kind of project myself being already there and manifest that through the experiences there.
Good for you. Let's see if we can get someone to find some tougher questions for you. I'm here with Alex Thornton. Our series is First and New Jobs, and this is our last one in this. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call. The phone number is 650-856-1491. Let's go a little bit towards the concept of job expectations, responsibilities. Is there anything in this job that is somewhat new or unique for you that you may have to do some skill upping, so to speak?
Right, and so I'm not entirely sure if it's going to be that way. I do know that I've never manned a front desk before, and that is
So
something.
you're the first sight that people see?
I will be working the main desk for a period of time.
Good.
Yes, organizing events and whatnot. I am actually not so proficient in organization, so hopefully this will help me become better at it, and that's something I look forward to.
Will you do telephone work? Will you answer questions on the phone? What if someone calls in? Will you take that, or is it go to a switchboard?
What we like to implement customer satisfaction at its finest. So if a customer is there, we will take care of them first, but the telephone will be ringing us, and I will have to answer it.
Now, you had mentioned when we were in our prep time the kinds of things that the recreation center gets involved in. Do you have interest in some of the activities? What do they do if you want to use the rec center?
So they actually have a pool, they have a skate park, they have a gymnasium.
Is that different from the Burgess Pool?
I'm not entirely sure
Menlo
about
Park
the
has a
Burgess.
public pool called the Burgess Pool. I guess the Arriaga Pool may be different.
It might be, very well might be. They have a numerous amount of events, from barbecues to weddings. There's a huge spectrum. Basically, yeah, they just do events. They rent out the facilities to people that need it.
Now, do they have, let's say if it makes it through the summer, would you do summer camp? Do they do?
They do summer camp. They do schooling as well. They do teach classes there, I'm pretty sure. And it might be something that extends into that, yes.
In terms of major topics, there are some universities, at least back east, that had a major in recreation leadership. So if you were interested in this as a long-term career, that could be something that you would consider. But tell everybody what you're thinking of having your major being now and how that would link to the job you're doing.
So I'm really interested in entrepreneurship. It's what really brought me to the Silicon Valley. I think that I want to be self-employed, so entrepreneurship is the right path for me.
And how will this particular position sort of give you some kind of increased skill sets for that, do you think?
So I think by working here at the front desk of a recreation center near a private institution where there is a lot of people, I think I'm going to make a lot of connections.
So there's networking and contacts.
Networking, marketing. I think it's going to help me personally with time management, organizational skills, which are very crucial to running your own business.
And I also think, if I can add, the concept of customer service and meeting customer expectations, and also knowing what it's like to be a part of a system that you're very important to make it successful. Now,
Certainly.
Advice. You gave some great advice about looking for a job. What advice would you give for someone who is starting on Sunday, for example? What kind of counsel would you say? Get a good night's sleep, that's the first one.
Yeah, certainly. I would say just prepare your mindset to be abundant and accept everything that happens. Go in there with the right mindset. Show up early. Get your foot in the door a little bit. And familiarize yourself with the concepts that are going to be involved.
Let me just solicit again for some questions. We're here with Alex Thornton. Our show is First and New Jobs, so please call in with the phone number. Please call in with a question. I'll give you the phone number. It's 650-856-1491. Let's talk a little bit about what you think some of the challenges of this job will be, and how do you think you'll handle them, and how did your experience previously sort of get you set for it?
So I think some challenges on this job are probably going to be organizing the events specifically
Themselves,
on a
right.
timesheet or something that is more able to be recognized by myself and other people. I think communication is going to be interestingly challenging at this job. There's a bunch of people running around the building consistently. We have classes going. We have events going. So I think being organized with the rooms, keeping them unlocked when they need to be, and things like that is going to be very challenging. But
I guess you can't lose the keys either if you're the first one in there. Now, talk a little bit about some of your success in sales. Do you think that will be able to be applied here? I gather you're not going to be selling product or be on a commission, but how would that sales skills transfer over, do you think?
So at Zoomy, something they really taught us was get it in the customer's hand, get the product in the hand. And so working here, there isn't really a product, so to speak, that I can physically place in the hand. So I think that's when the marketing and promotion is going to come out, and I'm really going to have to just get people connected, like Arriaga Recreation Center, a place that you can come if you need these events, and really just get people on the page of the benefits that we offer.
Now, this is a part-time job.
Correct.
How many hours a week do you think you'll be working, and how will that put extra pressures on you for your schoolwork and your extracurricular activities? How do you think that's going to be? Is this priority number one? How are you going to manage this?
So this is really just to kind of help with the financial responsibilities I have as a college student. This is to get me off the ground. Coming from a new, entirely different state and city, I'm kind of easing into the environment, and so I think this is a good transition. And that's all I would have to say.
Perfect. Talk a little bit about your boss. We all know that liking your job is just half the battle. Liking your boss fills it up and makes it more better. Tell me a little bit about what kind of connection you guys had and whether you think this is going to be a good fit.
So I could tell from the interview that she was somebody who is humorous, something that I appreciate. I like humor. I think we need to laugh more in our lives.
I do too.
And she just seemed to be a very charming person who was on top of everything. She gave me a lot of information. She helped me out. She gave me packets to read. She was
Wonderful.
really helpful in the whole process.
Now, tell me, do you think that the competition, who was the competition for the Arriaga Center? Where else would people go for the events that you guys sponsor? Or might you not know that yet?
So that is something I'm learning every day.
Good.
Every day I find out about new venues around Menlo Park. I like to explore, and I like to find new things. I know there is a Onetta Family Center or Senior Center in proximity somewhere around Menlo, and I think that is where a lot of people would be going as well.
Perfect. Let's look a little bit about the whole concept of skills. You're planning events, you're meeting people at the front desk. You talked very sophisticatedly, I thought, about time management, about being organized. Talk a little bit about the interpersonal part of the job and the skills you might need as a communicator and the background that you've had. I think our audience would love to know how you got to be articulate and well-spoken.
So I think that finding your own voice is crucial in society, especially nowadays. Like, people need to find their conviction. They need to speak from what is passionate to them. And I think debate in high school really helped me find my voice. From impromptu speaking to oratorical analysis.
And how many years were you on the debate team?
All 4 years.
Oh, wonderful. And you can tell our listeners about your success there, because I was very impressed.
Yes, so I actually was a qualifier to state all 4 years. I qualified in speech events and debate. My greatest feat was actually placing 5th in state debate, and I qualified every year in state debate.
Now, do you think Jasmine knew this when she hired you?
Well, seeing as it was on my resume, yes.
Let's hope. Okay, good. And I think that will help with the interpersonal skills, and also
Definitely.
I think it helps build confidence.
Definitely.
Okay. Talk a little bit about how many hours. I can't remember if you gave me a figure about how many hours a week you're going to be working.
So my first shift is 6 hours. We use whentowork.com, so that is a website
Explain to me what that is. I'm not familiar with that.
It's actually a very user interface friendly to most people. It allows you to pick your own times, to request time off, and it's all right there.
All on the computer?
Yeah, it's all right there in one app.
Wow. Will you be managing that, or will somebody be managing that for you?
So I'll be corresponding with Jasmine, of course, but I can actually place times when I want to work at my convenience and stuff like that.
Wow. Okay. First job. Talk a little bit about the whole concept of education and being prepared. Are there any classes you can take at school that might help with this particular job, even though you think, and it may be just a transition to get something else? What are the kind of courses you think you can take that will enrich your experience at the center?
I would advise to take classes that will serve as a sort of stepping stool to what it is that you want out of life. So if you want entrepreneurship, you would be taking business management. You would be taking certain classes that really allow you to understand the fundamentals of your own business, right? If you wanted to go into, let's say, sciences or something like that, you might take biology, or even, study some psychology.
I think a psychology class in that job would be very helpful,
Right.
because you get to meet people and figure out what's going on.
And so basically just put yourself out there and really think about the implications of your classes and how they can affect your future. Don't just take classes to meet the credits.
I agree. I feel like I'm about the shopping network when I keep on soliciting for phone calls and questions. Please, we have Alex Thornton here, a bright young fellow starting his first job on Sunday. The number here is 650-856-1491. I'm fascinated to find out if you were able to distinguish why you were hired. Obviously, there are tons of young people in the area who would like part-time jobs. I don't know what the application amount was, but there must have been something that had them respond, and there must have been some reason why you were selected. Why do you think that was?
I think I just took matters into my own hands, reached out to them first, and really just went for it, and I believed in it 100%. But I think it was, the resume did play a factor, but I think the most crucial thing was the face-to-face interview, of course. You just want to make that good first impression, and you really want to sell yourself.
And how long did the interview last?
The
Or
interview,
did you have just one, or did they call you back?
the interview lasted for approximately 35 minutes.
Okay, good. Now, in terms of the coworkers, have you had a chance? That's one of the exciting things about having a new job. You can get to meet a whole new series of friends. Do you have any idea how many other people are starting the same day that you are, or how many other people they hired? Is it a whole new crew, or don't you know that yet?
So in my specific sector in the building, I don't think anybody else got the job besides myself. I will be working closely with Jasmine for the first couple of shifts, of course. But after that, I guess we'll see how it plays out.
That was my next question. Do they have a formal training program, or is it on-the-job training? How do you think you're going to, quote-unquote, learn the ropes?
So we do a lot of the basic training in the first shift.
Okay.
And so I think after that, it'll play out. I'm a quick learner, so.
I bet you are. Talk to me a little bit, if you can, about the concept of making things better. Let's say you discover some stuff that you think needs improvement. Do you see the organization as receptive to listening to your ideas? The research says, Alex, that you learn most from people who are new to the job and most from people who leave the job. How do you think the organization feels about improving systems, or making things better, or taking fresh eyes from a bright young guy that's coming to the job?
So I think, like, by bringing my perspective into this job from a different area, I can bring in new focuses from my environment, from things that I've noticed, and bring that in and bring my expertise into the job. And I think when people leave, they sort of notice what triggered that response, and maybe they can change that for future employees.
Now, we didn't talk about this at our prep time. Do you think you'd be interested in a career in either recreation leadership or event planning or something like this, where this again would be a wonderful stepping stone for you?
I'm all about making connections and networking, so really any job that offers that opportunity, I'm for it. And I think this is going to be a great stepping stone for my career. So.
Now, something I'm dying to find out, but I think I know what is the computer and the internet access and requirements for the job? Do you need to be computer savvy whiz-like, or can you be like me, basically hanging on? What kind of computer skills do you think you'll need for this, or are we going to need any brush up there?
So I'm actually really proficient with Excel, Word, Pages, all that. I spend a lot of time actually on my laptop. So fortunately for me, I was able to bypass that requirement because I do know a lot about it.
But do you think, is it a part of the job?
There was a requirement to be a little bit proficient with Excel and Microsoft Word.
I bet that's for keeping track records of who attends or lists and stuff like that. Any fundraising part? Probably not yet, I don't think.
Not yet. I'm sure it will maybe come up.
That's your sales skills will come in handy for that.
Of course.
Okay, we have about 2 minutes left. I'll do my final plea. Please call in 650-856-1491 for my colleague Alex Thornton, who's talking about his first job that starts on Sunday, and it's closing the series that we've been running for several months. Please call in, and waiting for that question, I'll give you some of the things that we've learned from the other people who've been sitting in your chair, who've had the opportunity to give insight. I think your advice about preparation comes through loud and clear. The other thing is to know your boss's goals, to know what Jasmine wants to get out of her job so you can begin to support her and help her reach her goals. Another important thing when you're starting a new job is to establish your work ethic and your dedication early, just like you said. Coming in early, working hard, staying late, making sure that you're a model of someone who cares about the job. And I guess the other thing that's interesting is to try to take courses that you think will apply. Psychology keeps coming up, so you can get to know who your customers are.
Certainly.
Finance, so you can figure out how the operation runs, and a concept of trying to figure out quality improvements, those kinds of things. Is there anything else you'd like to add in terms of what you think would be helpful to our audience?
I mean, as far as conviction goes, it's all about mindset. Like, you can really do anything you want, so.
I like that. I promised my students' classes that I would give a shout out, so I want to say, we have a caller that beats the shout out. Can I ask who's calling? This is Dr. Business. I'm sorry, you need to speak a little louder.
Hi, Dr. Business. What do you think is the best way to deal with other-minded employees?
Help me understand what other-minded employees means.
Well, to me, sometimes at my job, I feel like people don't exactly feel the same way I feel about how to execute certain things. How would you say is the best way to work with those people, even though you don't think exactly the same?
I think that's a great question, but you're not going to believe this. We only have about 10 seconds left in our show. So what I'm going to have to do is mention this offline. If you call the number at the end, I'll give you the answer. I want to thank you for calling in. I'm sorry it came in so late. I want to give a shout out to my 810 class and my 940 class. Wish them good luck. October 20th, we're on the air again in the new series, Jobs That Involve and Require Travel. So if you know anyone that'd like to be on the show, let me know. I want to thank my caller. I want to thank Alex. I want to thank my crew. And I want to wish everyone a great week and month. Take care. And that's the end of our show.